If you have not watched Death Note, please be aware that this video will contain spoilers regarding the anime. You have been warned. So firstly, let's rerun how Death Note ended. I mean, do you know a single person or Death Note fan who hasn't at least questioned or pondered upon the unfolding narrative in that final scene? Near's proof and logic and deducing Light as being Kira from the whole confrontation to conclusion in that single moment summarizes the epitome of his investigation and season 2, his breakdown in evidence that leads directly to Light's downfall. One thing that I realized when finishing Death Note for the first time is that the natural inclination for a viewer is to think that Death Note has Light's story. However, it's not, it's Ryuk's. If you're still not convinced, think about the fundamental scene in which the theory of Light becoming a Shinigami features. It shows Ryuk with a Shinigami about to explain the story of Light and the experience with the Death Note. An amazing jaw-dropping story at that for us. Ryuk says himself the world was interesting, the story about a man trying to change the world and become a god to people, an experience he would never forget for the rest of his life. Seems quite fitting to us Death Note fans as well, huh? The epic build up upon Kira's death and Light fading away as he lays on the stairwell, which some may say is symbolic, as you have to remember the news of a Death Note can neither go to heaven or hell, the top of the stairwell signifying heaven and the bottom hell. Light is smack in the middle, implying this very notion. It kinda felt as though we went with the guy, the journey came to a close. You have to keep in mind that Kira was around for 7 years in the Death Note universe. He literally changed the world. Crime rates went significantly down and hardcore criminals were not to be found. He actually helped the world in some ways. A cult of Kira worshippers, which you cannot forget too, even after Kira's death, they still worship him. In the epilogue of Death Note, it is revealed that upon Kira's death, crime rate was rising to pre-Kira levels again. The world without him was simply returning to its previous state of misery. So why do people believe Light became a Shinigami? Even I thought so when I finished Death Note for the first time. There is compelling evidence to make you believe so. So the Unnamed Shinigami, who is the core of this theory, is featured in Death Note Relight 1, Visions of God, and he sets up the plot for telling the story of Light Yagami and the Death Note. Just like Ryuk, he says he is bored of the Shinigami realm and ponders off to try and see if he can go to the human realm. So as I said before in the anime, it is revealed that all users of the Death Note go to nothingness, and most people may assume that this means purgatory, but fans may argue that this can mean the Shinigami realm, because if you take a look at the realm itself, it's really dull and nothing. Why does Ryuk and the Unnamed Shinigami say it's really boring otherwise? Ryuk wanted to go to the human realm because he was bored. The Unnamed Shinigami shares this same attitude like Ryuk before he went to the human realm. The Unnamed Shinigami is intrigued with the human realm and will find it more interesting. He doesn't even stay to hear the end of Ryuk's story, and it's kinda implied that he may have an agenda to why he wants to go. This kinda makes people think this Shinigami is Light, and which then also means the speculation that the Shinigami can possibly be previous users of Death Note, as they can neither go to heaven or hell. You can assume the purpose of the Shinigami world is to force the individuals who took the opportunity to kill out of hatred or selfish intent to see what it may be like to do nothing but watch human beings love one another and to lose those people out of their lives for eternity. Thus they can atone and realize love influences your actions more than self-centeredness, and you can then end your life to save a human being, just like Shinigami Jealous did for a woman he loved as he overlooks her. So who is this Unnamed Shinigami? A lot of people are not even aware of this scene. Essentially, the Unnamed Shinigami only appears in the anime Relight films, which take place in their own continuity. The Relight films rewrite some scenes of the original anime series, some dialogue changes here and there, and adding some animated scenes and of course the introduction of the Unnamed Shinigami. There is quite a few similarities between the Shinigami and Light. So what are the points and factors that argue this theory? It is possible that a Shinigami's appearance represents who they were as a human or how they died. Some people can interpret it like that. So, clothing and appearance. Number 1. The red tie which is around Shinigami's head is the exact same one which Light sported all of the time in the human realm for his school uniform.
It's because... Oh, the results of the nationwide exams.
Number 2. The Shinigami has goggles on his head, which seems unusual to the gothic design that all other Shinigami have. It may insinuate the fact that Light did not take the deal to have Shinigami eyes, unlike others. Number 3. This particular Shinigami carries a messenger bag for some reason, and it's identical to the one Light often carried during his time at high school. Number 4. This Shinigami has spiked hair and it seems to be the same length, color and texture as Light. Number 5. So we all remember Light's dramatic scenes in his inner monologue, right? Who can forget the scene where he takes a potato chip and eats it?
Just watch me, El. I'll solve equations with my right hand and write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
One key thing to notice and is awesome is that Light gets bright red eyes due to the symbolic moments and artistry, right? Shinigami have red eyes too, including the unnamed Shinigami, which may be a link to Light as he's kinda like a Shinigami. Number 6. Death Note Opening 2 has a lot of symbolism towards the last 10 seconds in which it showcases Light, crows, the Shinigami realm and Ryuk, and a quick glimpse of Light with a Shinigami appearance as if he is going through a metamorphosis into a Shinigami. Watch the sequence here. Light can be seen standing in the Shinigami realm too. This can be a foreshadowing to the events to come and his reincarnation as a Shinigami after death. Number 7. The way the unnamed Shinigami walks is the same as Light Yagami upon his death, as he had a limp due to his wounds. The Shinigami walking towards Ryuk also has some sort of limp or a mannerism similar to Light. That's not everything, by the way. This theory is backed up by more. Let's talk about the Shinigami handing the apple to Ryuk. How did this unnamed Shinigami know of Ryuk and ask other Shinigami of his whereabouts? Is it because he held some memory of his past life? Is that why he doesn't wait to hear the end of Ryuk's story about Light Yagami? Because he already knows how it ends? Shinigami seems to be a new one too. No one seems to recognize him or know of him at all. In addition, Ryuk says it himself. Who are you? This means it must be a new Shinigami, further indicating it's a reincarnation of Light. Furthermore, evidence to this theory is that Light in the human realm with Ryuk knew that he loves Apple. How does this unnamed Shinigami have knowledge of this? The way he seems to toss the apple with confidence and affirmation also seems to be in the same manner as Light or a human. Shinigami possess senses of taste similar to those of humans. They do not eat food, however. In the human world, Misa's Shinigami Rem specifically states that all Shinigami ingestive system is either rotten or evolved, and that they don't need substances to sustain themselves. Since Light is the one of the only people we know in the Death Note universe to know that Ryuk loves apples, this must mean this Shinigami could be Light, as he may have some memories about Ryuk from his past life. Ryuk's interaction with the unnamed Shinigami in both real-life films 1 and 2, in which he appears in, is really vague. It can be interpreted by viewers as Ryuk referring the Shinigami as Light, because after looking at his own Death Note, Ryuk speaks to Light as if he were there, with his quote saying, "You were not a god, you were just... oh, gone already?" This could possibly imply Ryuk was addressing the Shinigami as Light, or that he was reminiscing the past. The directing also in this scene also implies it shows a shot of Ryuk's Death Note right after showing the Shinigami with the name Light Yagami. Why would you direct something in such a manner without trying to suggest something to the viewers?
あの時のお前は神なんかじゃなかった。あれはむしろ言ったが、と拾って一生忘れられねえ面白えもん見れるだろうよ。そうだろう。なあ、ライト。
The last point to this theory is Light was the owner of a dead Shinigami's Death Note when he died. He had Rem's Death Note if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm a little hazy, but as a human he was not affected by some rules. But after death, maybe he became a Shinigami because he died as an owner of a Death Note. Anyways, not all theories are conclusive or come without some speculation or flaws. Let's discuss them. This isn't the first time an unnamed Shinigami has appeared. In fact, there are several of them, around 6. One of the unnamed Shinigami kinda looks like the one in the Relight films. He appears in the manga chapter 3 and he has a purplish hue skull. There are some differences in appearance, like the jacket or punk's type style, but he does sport the same goggles as the one that we're talking about. Even further, the fact that Oba, the creator of Death Note, said himself that there are likely many Shinigami with skulls for heads. So this backfires, as this may not be the same Shinigami from all the films. It can be anyone. It might be the same Shinigami or a different one, and it's up to your interpretation. I mean, why would this Shinigami have purple hue skull and the one in the Relight films have a white one? It can be a coloring drawing error, or it can mean that they are both different. It can be light, who knows. Secondly, the Death Note Relight films rewrites quite a few things and creates a tangent in the story because it ponders off the original anime. I was wondering the same thing when I was 16 and watched the Relight films. One plot hole, for example, in the Relight films is that Mikami and Takada killed the SPK members, which was supposed to be the Mafia, aka Mello's gang, which is kinda weird. Furthermore, one of the rules of the Death Note is not taken into consideration in the added animated scenes, such as the rule for the death to be realized, it needs to be physically possible for the humans or reasonable assumed to be carried out by the human. Conversely, in the Relight films, Mikami kills Kira rebels and one of them dies by an unnatural death of doing a 360-degree turned head. How is that possible? It makes no sense. So the Relight films are kinda questionable. I don't know how I'm gonna pronounce this, forgive me guys, but if you have forgotten, in the Death Note universe, Mew is revealed in volume 12 page 188 and consists of 2 rules. All human will, without exception, eventually die, and also after they die, the place they go to is Mew, aka nothingness. This rule applies to both humans in general and also people who have used the Death Note. Oba, the author of Death Note, was influenced by Buddhism. Check out our video 10 things you didn't know about Death Note. Death Note is 108 chapters. Because of this, the number 108 can represent the 108 earthly desires. Oba said himself in an interview that one of the premises in the series is that once a person dies, they can never come back to life. I wanted to set a rule that bringing characters back to life is cheating. That's why death equals nothingness. If I had to choose a theme that the series follows, he says humans will all eventually die and never come back to life, so give it all while you are alive. Death equals nothingness, so it's Mew. The same rule applies to the real world, but obviously some of us believe in an afterlife instead of Buddhism or other religions, or have different beliefs, right? We're all different. The general rule of Mew is that all humans, regardless of what they have did during this life, simply cease to exist upon dying and are all equal in death. Nothing gets taken with you in death. We all share the same destiny as a human being. Mew is a Japanese and Korean word which can mean negative or absence of something. In Buddhism, Mew is the answer to something that is improper question that does not have an answer to merit it. In Japanese, it can mean after death they go to mu. So this rule is really complex because it means the question relies on an invalid assumption. You don't go anywhere because there is nowhere for them to go. This is why in translation, and to make it easier for it to be in the anime and understood, is translated to nothingness, because that rule has too much details and explanation for the notebook of the Death Note. As I said before, this is all open to interpretation of what you think mu is. What do you think is after death? That's what it is questioning, and that is upon the viewer to decide. Mu in itself is the concept of interpretation. Mu could be reality in someone else's viewpoint. For example, if someone asks you, "What did you do today?" and you say nothing, you still did something. However, if you are walking an endless and blank pathway forever, people can say that it is nothing of endless nothing, but it's actually something. It is such a complex topic and is thought-provoking. Let me give you some examples. If you interpret mu in a way that the Shinigami realm could be the interpretation of nothingness, that means light became a Shinigami and there is a heaven and hell to where humans go. If you interpret that mu means that there is nothing and always will be nothing after death, that means light possibly didn't get reincarnated, and so on and so forth. There's many different interpretations. It is such a complex topic to think about. I personally thought the ending was a fantastic and fitting conclusion to the storyline and the theme of Death Note intended to follow. It was pretty well received. Some people wanted light to win, some didn't, some liked the manga ending better, some liked the anime. But the key thing to realize is that Death Note is one of those animes that revolves around the fact of questioning morality and humankind. Was Kira in the right or wrong? Was he doing more good than bad? Metsuda questions this very thing himself in the ending of the manga on whether or not he was on the right side, and was killing Light in the right thing to do because he's the one that pulled the trigger, and that's up to your opinion. Death Note is one of the best anime of all time, not many people would deny that. I enjoyed it so much when I was 16 and I was kinda depressed for a week after I ended it. It blasted my mind. Death Note deserves the respect it gets. Let me know in the comment section below right now if you believe Light became a Shinigami or not. What are your reasons? What do you think about Death Note in general? Let me know. And make sure you smash that like button and share this with anyone who has seen Death Note. And check out our social medias. Follow us on Snapchat and Twitter and give us a go. We are starting a second channel soon, by the way, as well. I'll link that too. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching and supporting us as always. See ya.